is the adventure of the century. This is our chance to get the world excited about space.
If we can look up from Earth and know that human beings are living on another planet, will we ever again be able to tell ourselves that there's anything we can't do?
I want to contribute directly to mankind's confident expansion into the solar system, which we have to do if we're going to survive in the long term.
I believe it is in our nature and it is our destiny.
I want, after I die, the impact of my life is imparted upon those who follow.
I know it comes at the cost of living Earth forever, but future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.
So we've reached just about that time, almost the end of our session here at the Congress, but last and certainly not least, a presentation that many of us have been waiting for, Humans on Mars in 2032, the game changer of the 21st industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bas Lansdorp, CEO of the Mars One project, as well as Dr. Adriana Marey, who is the theoretical physicist and Mars One project candidate. They'll each be giving a presentation for about 15 minutes, starting off with Bas, and thereafter we'll go into some Q&A. But welcome them on stage as they join us.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. I just arrived yesterday from Holland and good weather here, but I understand it wasn't like this all the time, so glad that it's good when I'm spending a little week here. So thanks for having me. My company is sending humans to Mars, and the video you just saw was about the 100 remaining candidates that are still in the running to be in one of the first teams. But sending humans to Mars, how? Yeah, but maybe more importantly, why? Why should we send humans to Mars if we can't even take care of this planet? That's what I get from a lot of people. We're messing up one planet, do we really deserve another? Well, I think the opposite is actually true. I think that we go to Mars, not for Mars, but for a better planet Earth. I believe going to Mars will change the world more than anything we can imagine. I think it will inspire our children to want to be scientists and engineers and astronauts. It will inspire grown-ups like you and I to pursue further education or to file a patent or to start a company. Because if the proverbial impossible, a mission to Mars, is done, then anything is possible. And if you believe that anything is possible, then actually a lot more is possible. And I think it will bring the world closer together. I think a common project that the whole world can participate in can achieve that. I think it will give great spin-off technologies in farming, sustainable farming, renewable energy, recycling. But most importantly of all, I believe that going to Mars will make us extremely aware that there is no plan B for this planet. And Mars is the second best place in the universe. It's in the solar system for humans. Maybe not in the universe, but certainly in the solar system. After the Earth, and it's a dry desert planet. It cannot support 7 or 8 or 9 billion people. So we cannot all migrate to Mars if we mess up here. There is no plan B. And I think if we make this into reality, if humans are actually landing on Mars and the whole world sees that happening, I think we will become truly aware of how special this place is. This is our spaceship. The Earth is our spaceship, and we are not the passengers, we are the crew, and we need to maintain our spaceship or it will no longer support us. So I think we are going to Mars for a better planet Earth. So how can a small Dutch company like mine do that, and there's 10 people working in Mars One? How can a small company do that if not even NASA has been able to do it yet? That's because we are taking a completely different approach than all the space agencies. NASA could do a human mission to Mars right now. They could. And they know how to launch stuff, they know how to keep humans alive in space for prolonged periods. People have been alive in the International Space Station for much more than a decade. They know how to land equipment on Mars, and there's no reason why humans could not sit in the same technology. It's actually easier to keep humans alive on the surface of Mars than it is in space, because there's, for example, there's gravity, there's resources, there's sand, there's water, and the fact that it's a planet makes things a lot easier because gravity makes pumps work. There's fluid and fluid and air separation. Going to the toilet in gravity is a lot easier than in space because things fall down, they don't float. But so NASA can do this. NASA could do the same mission. Why are they not doing it? Because one piece of the puzzle of the NASA mission is missing, and that's the return journey. Nobody on this planet knows how to get humans from Mars back to Earth. Now we found a pretty simple solution for that. The people we're sending, they're staying on Mars. And to some that sounds quite extreme. But don't forget that if your neighbor told you 70 years ago, hey, I'm going to New York, you would assume that he sold his house and that he bought a one-way ticket on a boat. And that's just 70 years ago. And one-way trips to other continents have been the norm until intercontinental flying became affordable for anyone, almost anyone. So one way is what makes this possible. And to illustrate how difficult it is to do a return journey, I will tell you how difficult it is to launch something from Earth. And what a lot of people don't know is that 5% of all rocket launches fail here from Earth. They don't all explode, that's the ones you see in the news, but 5% of all rocket launches have, for whatever reason, the payload in the wrong orbit at the end of the mission. So what does it mean if you're going from Mars back to Earth and you're in the wrong orbit? Well, I assure you it's better to explode on the launch pad, because then at least it's quick. So if 5% of the missions fail from Earth, how can we do it from Mars? And there's hundreds of engineers involved in every rocket launch from Earth. They check all the systems at the last moment. They all give their go, and 5% fails. Then you need to put that hypothetical return rocket on top of an Earth rocket first. It needs to be launched to Mars, so there's vibrations during launch. It's flying through the vacuum of space for 6 months. It will land on the surface with a bang that you can't really predict, because the atmosphere of Mars is not so predictable. And then it's going to be there for a couple of years with no maintenance, because there's no humans yet. And then a couple of years later, the first crew arrives and they need to take that rocket home. Come on, if we can't do it reliably from Earth, how can we do it from Mars without the right support? It's just not going to happen. And that's why humans are not on Mars yet, because we can't send them home. Not a very good reason, I think. So my company is working on permanent settlement, and instead of trying to bring them back, we're going to send additional crews every 2 years. The first crew should land in 2032. Now, of course, that's not going to be our first mission, because that would be extremely dangerous. Even more dangerous, I should say. So we have a number of preparatory missions. We have a demo mission in 2022. It's going to be built on the design of a former NASA mission, the Phoenix mission, and we've already had the first contract with Lockheed Martin to investigate if the platform can be used for our demo mission, which it can. Then 2 years later, we're going to send a ComSat. Again, 2 years later, we're going to send a rover that's going to drive around on the surface and pinpoint the exact location for its settlement. So it needs to have enough water in the soil. It needs to be nice and flat for construction. And then, again 2 years later, we're going to send all the hardware to the location of the settlement. So all the hardware for the humans, but not the humans. We'll send another rover to supply 2 life support units, 2 living units, a supply unit. The 2 rovers that we have then will move all the equipment to the right location. They will activate the life support system, so water is being produced, a breathable atmosphere. And when everything is working, again 2 years later, we send the first crew. And then 2 years later, the second crew arrives. And in that way, we keep building a settlement instead of trying to bring people back. And all those things are possible with existing technology, not existing systems. Everything needs to be designed, but it's applied engineering. It's very difficult, but it's applied engineering. No new inventions are needed to implement this mission to Mars. Now, if that's really possible, then the next question, especially in Holland, where I'm from, is what does it cost and how are you going to pay for it? So I don't have it. The cost of our mission is about $6 billion. I don't have that, unfortunately. So I had to come up with a business case for a human mission to Mars. And it's worth a lot to the world. I'm convinced of that. It can change the world for the better, but you can't pay the rent with a better world. So what's the business case? Well, when humans go to Mars, I think it's going to be the biggest event of the 21st century. Right? Everybody will be glued to their mobile phone screens while it happens. So what's the value of an event that a lot of people watch? Well, in 2011, when I started Mars One, I found the value of another big event, the Olympic Games. And it was projected then that the International Olympic Committee in London would make about $4.5 billion from broadcasting rights and sponsorships and partnerships. $4.5 billion just because quite a lot of people in the world are watching. But 500 years from now, I'm convinced that everybody will still remember the names of first humans that walk on Mars. But 500 years from now, nobody will remember Usain Bolt, or maybe a few. So what's the value of a human mission to Mars? Well, I can't predict it exactly, but we estimated between 3 and 10 Olympic events. That's a new monetary unit that I personally invented. So just that would be a good return on investment. But there are so many other things. Imagine all the things you can do around a human mission to Mars. It's the ultimate content. It's the Olympic Games, but it's also Star Wars. Star Wars merchandise does $2 billion per year. $2 billion is the turnover of Star Wars merchandise. How much would the Mars One merchandise be worth if we're actually doing this? Or the game. And the FIFA game is worth $800 million per year. What will the Mars One game be worth? And events, there's so many things you can do. Who will build the rover? Which car company will build the Mars rover? Which beer company will build the microbrewery they take to Mars? There's so many opportunities. Which watch company? And Omega is still the moon watch. Which watch company will make the watch? So many content and branding opportunities. We're listed now at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange with our commercial activities with a valuation of about 25 million. We've just signed a nice investment agreement for 12 million, which allows us to do all the things we need to do next year. So I am convinced that the money is not going to be the problem. And it's not going to be the technology. The biggest challenge of going to Mars is the humans. How do you find the right team for such a mission? Can I ask who here would consider it? And maybe I should add, there's not a lot of gray hairs, but if you didn't have gray hair and if you didn't have kids and a partner, who here would consider going on a one-way mission to Mars? But it's actually quite a lot of people. That's sure, she can join my mother-in-law. So the people who did not raise their hands might be surprised to hear that more than 200,000 people applied or registered their interest on our website when we opened up the job vacancy. 200,000 people from all around the world. And so Adriana right here is one of them, and she's still in the running. She will speak after me. And our challenge is to find from those 200,000 people the best. And not the best people, but the best teams, because going to Mars is the ultimate team challenge. And to illustrate how difficult it will be, I would like to invite you on a brain experiment where you're taking your 3 best friends to a simulation outpost. Simulation outpost is going to be something we build here on Earth to train the crews, but also to test them. Okay, so take your 3 best friends in mind, and it has to be in total 2 men and 2 women. Your best of best friends, and you're going to the simulation outpost for an extended period of time. You don't know how long yet. Okay? You've got them? Okay, so you've been there for 3 months already, locked up at 200 square meters, and today was your birthday. Yeah? So it was a fun day, you had a few drinks, you went to bed really late, and half an hour after going to bed, there's a huge alarm. The life support system is broken, so you have to fix it. So you fix it, you go to bed again, you wake up another hour later because it's time to do the stuff you have to do. So you're hungover, you're tired, you have a headache, everything is bad. You open the door from your small compartment to the living room. There's a foul stench. The toilets are broken. Everything stinks. This is not your lucky day, is it? And then you see the sock of one of your teammates on the floor. And that's the kind of thing that can cause a team to snap, to fall apart. Because they know all these things will break. But it's the small interpersonal things that can break a team up. Hey, you've always been annoyed with one of your teammates, probably a guy, right? Leaving their socks in the living room, but you can deal with it. You're a team, you're going to Mars, but when you're tired and annoyed and you have had a hangover and there's this smell in the air, and then there's the sock, that can cause things to fall apart. So we're looking for teams that can deal with the sock. And that's our biggest challenge. So why am I here? And why am I trying to do this mission impossible? I had a wind energy company before Mars One that was doing really well. I co-founded it. It was my baby. And I had to decide at one moment in time, do I start Mars One or do I stay with my wind energy company? And we had a working prototype, very innovative technology. So right now in Mars One, we've already achieved quite a lot of things. So we've had 20 million people to the website. We've had a contract with Lockheed Martin. Big brands have worked with us. Honda, Reebok, others have used Mars One as an example of how innovative or whatever they are. We've been, Sheldon Cooper of the Big Bang Theory has applied for our mission. We've achieved already so many things. A listing at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, investments, and still the odds today are against us. Imagine 7 years ago, when we had nothing, not even the name, what the odds were. Well, I started Mars One in an instant. I didn't have to think about it because this is my passion. I want to contribute to this next giant leap of mankind. And I'm convinced that we already have contributed because Mars One has made the permanent settlement idea, a one-way trip, we've made it a topic of debate. And that's the only way it's ever going to happen. So keep an eye on us. There's a lot of exciting things going to happen. And I thank you for your time, and I give the word to Adriana, one of our candidates. Thank you very much. Thank you.